the Civilization Restarted series, and in today's part, we're focused on collapse. And you may say, why? Well, collapse is inevitable with the growth of empires, and as we've seen, a few grew massively in size, and usually when that happens, a collapse happens. With, well, the northern territory, the northern area of this country, which starts all the way down here, declares independence. You may think that's not a collapse, but it's not done. We're having more countries form. But also, this area of the country doesn't include the tiny bit of what we would call Greenland. And well, there's like nothing here, like maybe 2,000 people on a good day, probably. As well, a nation declares itself over here and over here. With another nation forming over here, there's two, and then one forms over here. One forms over here. The Green Nation redeclares its independence, but still, like, not that great. And this northern area declares their independence. A place over here does. Yes, there's a lot of independence. One over here, one independence. Another independence over here, with it collapsing, as you can see. Another nation over here, and another one over there. So you can see, that's a lot. Don't worry, the nation to the south of it has a bit of a collapse again, with small areas breaking away. Like, they are slowly collapsing. As then they lose their last piece of territory. And then they're back to what they should have. So now let's see the colors be changed. Like, those two nations barely exist at this point. But like, where else can we have a collapse? These nations are too big, I think. Honestly, let's just destroy them. This nation falls into two groups. This nation falls into the three groups. This nation falls into 4 groups. This one falls into like 5. No, it's fallen into 4 maybe. This one falls quite a bit. With this one unable to sustain itself, falling between 2 groups, and so is this one. So now let's fix. Don't worry, it's not the last nation to collapse. A bigger nation collapses. You may say, oh, which one? This blue, lightish, bluish aqua nation, I guess. I've made too many colors. Now I'm having to try to figure out what's what. This area leaves. Yeah. And that area decides to take that area. With us having this state. But this state deciding to break through. And then this state, you can see, and then a state over here. With all that's left of the country, I think it's that area. Well, it's kind of not great for an empire to collapse. And well, now we got 4 countries. And all of these nations calling themselves a successor state, basically. These 3 nations all call themselves a successor state. And well, that's 1, 2, 3. A bunch of collapses. And well, another country collapses. And this time it's this country, with it collapsing with these groups of people over here declaring their country. Then a deserty group declaring their independence. Then the northern part declaring its independence, which is not the worst collapse. But like, the nations need to start getting smaller. It's not enough nations. I don't know why I decided to make 1,000,000 nations. It's much easier with less nations. There must be something like weird. But that's weird. Should we make more nations? Yes. Why would I do it if it makes it more annoying for speaking of this series? Well, there won't be too many at a certain point. You need to collapse before you can expand, I guess. Let's be this series. This season of it. Well, they split off. The two northern parts of it split away. And well, it's not the same as it was. And well, we can see more nations collapse in the next part. We'll definitely see that nation gone soon. But they decide to go deeper into the Balkans. And well, they succeed. How many nations will be if they collapse will be off the charts. And they also, because nobody owns that right now, decide to take it over. If no one owns it, that's my territory. Basically, they just said, with them deciding to invade more states, they invade these areas. There is some expansion, but not enough. Just this empire trying to get more. With them conquering this area. The other nation too weak to conquer, as their other neighbors would invade if they tried anything. Well, this is pretty good, having the Caucasus and all their oil-rich region. Although I don't know if they know about oil down there. We did restart civilization. With this happening, yeah, that's not a good sign to see the nation to the south of you expanding everywhere. So, well, these three nations decide to form a federation to protect themselves from other threats. The Green Nation makes a launch of an attack against this nation, which happened. Well, they were shocked at first, but now not so much. You say this empire's big, well, not much longer. With them taking out that nation, but deciding not to take the full country over, as that country decided to surrender in time. What they do is take away most of their coastline. And well, this is a big move, with them showing off extensive amounts of power. And well, they decide to invade this nation. But quickly, this nation agrees to the peace, knowing that there's no way it's beating this at this point. But with great expansion comes great potential for collapse. Well, one error and they could collapse easily. With a partition being agreed on, one in this part, with the Brown Nation deciding to align with the Russians to make an expansion. Not Russians, the Yellow Country and the Brown Nation unite. Not unite, per se, but work together as the Brown Nation starts an invasion of the orangey beige empire. I guess it's like an orange. It's kind of orange, but it's also kind of beige. Orange. Let's call it beige orange. Because I don't know what kind of orange that would be. And the goal not necessarily collapse, just expansion, basically. For the Brown Country, which manages to reach... For the Brown Country that manages to reach the ocean. As they reach the ocean, that's a success for them. They meet up with the Yellow Team's forces, and the Yellow Team's forces quickly advance into the capital of this country. And this country decides to go to a peace treaty with the two other nations that it fought against. So let's see what happens in the peace treaty. Collapse starting to occur. With the economy going down so badly that some areas start declaring their own countries. Especially in the areas that have been occupied before. They just declare independence. As it turns out, it's starting to be more so province by province of this country, more so than areas. Just areas. But like, some areas declare independent. Some areas don't. It's all really a choice. Some stay loyal to the leader, and some decide to run away. Although the runners might be up for problems if the country ever gets back together. Which at this point, although unlikely, possible. And it will definitely happen again. Yeah, well, we got that nation. We got this nation. We got that nation. And yeah, this nation, definitely. Yeah, that's too dark. Might move it up here, because it does not go good with the borders of that darkness. But that works better. And well, as you can see, there was a lot of collapse in this part of today's video. We saw a bit of expansion, but not as much as normally we would see. And that's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Bye, guys!